Well, it was about a month ago that I noticed that I was pushing the brake pedal all the way down. It would stop, but not very well. And I knew that that was another expense of a necessary thing for money we don't have. Just kind of like, what did I do in a past life to have all these difficulties keep happening? And it's just, I don't know. The first time we had to apply for food stamps and assistance was hard and difficult because we never thought we'd be at that point. You're supposed to take care of yourself and your own, and that's it. You're not supposed to take help from anyone. But then you have a crisis or something happen in your family where now you can't continue to support them or feed them.
The way I viewed Medicaid and things like food stamp and things like that in the past, you think, okay, that's just poor people are on those programs. It never really broke my heart until my son was one of those people that's uninsurable.
My husband and I are out working full-time jobs every day, trying to make ends meet, and it's not enough for us. Coming home like hungry, not having anything to eat.
I was in college at one point in time. I was in the military at one point in time where I was the guy walking up the street and someone was asking me for some spare change. And in less than, just 2 years, go from that to the point where I've turned into that guy, that's an ultimate reality check.
I always felt ashamed of being a single mom with 5 kids, never being married, the whole 9 yards. So it took me time to start digging out the black hole, which was in myself, and realize, wait a minute, hold up, because I got 5 kids, that don't stop anything. I can still be whatever I want to be.
You want one? You need it full before you get in your chair. Want one? Thank you. Before Cooper was born, I was working full-time as a prior authorization nurse for Medicaid.
I was working with UPS, still am, and that was a night shift. So it's when the tractor trailers come in, we unload those, then load the smaller package cars. I've taken the training course to become a driver.
We weren't super well off. We weren't paycheck to paycheck at that point. We had a small savings, and we were able to take the kids on little mini vacations. I was still working full-time while pregnant with our 3rd child. Yummy. And it was a lot more difficult. Yum. Had to go on complete full bed rest.
When Cooper was born, he was a pretty rough shape. Caught us completely off guard because all the prenatal tests didn't indicate anything.
Both hips were dislocated, his legs were bent and contracted and pretty much stuck. Doctors kind of reassured us that most of it was correctable, but it was a lot of procedures and surgeries to help straighten him out. Who's that? Isn't that Mr. Gill? He had several appointments a week. He was having physical therapy twice a week, starting at a month old. Can you just show me how to get the heel cord
Absolutely.
really stretched out?
Yeah, always good to review.
I mean, my time was completely focused on Cooper at that point. Cooper needed me to help care for him. So I asked for time off from work, unpaid leave, obviously, to take care of him during that time, and they denied it. I was torn because I knew if I went back to work, that's the easy fix, but I had no choice. With the loss of my income, we fell behind quickly. It was either rent or food at that point. A lot of sleepless nights and scared about how are we gonna come up with money for rent. The landlord at the time was not very understanding. We tried to explain our situation to him, but he wasn't forgiving. Where are we gonna go at that point? We ended up having to split up. I took the kids, stayed with my parents in New York. Matt was able to stay with his parents so he could continue working to keep up with that income.
was pretty bad, pretty mentally taxing, emotional, devastating.
At that point, I realized we're gonna have to start applying for assistance.
Jesus says to the host, when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and then you will be blessed.
I was studying psychology at Texas Tech. Alexis was studying biology. We found out that we're having a baby.
You know, of course, we were excited about the baby. And then when we went for our ultrasound to find out if it was a boy or a girl, they, of course, told us that we were having a boy. But at that time, we also found out that there were going to be some significant issues with our son.
A lot of doctors told us he wouldn't survive birth. There were a lot of just unknowns. There was no kidney function. He had surgery for dialysis.
On his second day of life being here, and then on his third day, he started dialysis.
He was doing really well on his dialysis, and about 30 days into it, he had caught an infection and developed meningitis. From that point, you know, it was almost like we'd take 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
Every day they were telling us, this could be the last day he's here. We were there pretty much 24/7.
The first month, you know, we had a few $1,000s saved up. As the doctor's appointments went on and the co-pays came, savings didn't last long at all. We haven't been able to work. That's definitely taken a huge toll. You know, we're looking at our bank account every day, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, we're pretty much down to nothing.
We have 5 children. We have 3 boys and 2 girls. They're very energetic kids, very happy.
I'm a carpenter and a welder by trade. I was making plenty enough money to take care of my family. Work just got slow. With me being one of the newer guys to the company, I was one of the first guys to go. We had money saved up, and I was like, you know, we'll find a job. You know, don't worry, babe. Well, the way the economy was when I went to the military was nothing like it was when I came home, you know. Kept dipping in the bucket and without putting anything back in until it got too late, you know, and it was empty. You know, I kind of lost it, started drinking. Like the stress just got to me. I let my drinking get too far out of control. I was in a downward spiral that I couldn't pull myself out of. We went into strictly survival mode, punning and selling, you know, and borrowing and begging for everything that we had. And we started going to hotels.
We had rats. It wasn't very clean. The area we was living in, we really didn't want them to go outside.
You know, alcohol and drugs and prostitution and violence. We knew we shouldn't be there, not with kids. The lights got disconnected. We had an argument, and some people called CPS. CPS just, they didn't agree with hotels. That's not the way to raise a baby. That's not the way to raise a family. I really didn't have any ground to stand on. I wasn't working. They ended up taking them into their custody. And
it was hard. It's still hard, you know.
When we were in New York, I got a call from the housing program, the Children's Home Initiative. The rent is about half of what normal market value should be, so there was a spot open, an apartment available for us. Me and the kids were able to move back at that point.
Having him back was great. Granted, the situation's still not as where we want it, you know, it's not, but it's just good to be together again.
Come on. All right, let's get a cart. The housing program's been great, but it's still a struggle. We're definitely paycheck to paycheck family, sometimes barely paycheck to paycheck. 3 bananas, that's right. Good job. Yeah, those are bananas. We're in debt pretty far. When we're grocery shopping, I mean, it's down to the penny, constantly checking and comparing prices. If a brand may be cheaper with a coupon, then I'll try to do that. Having the food stamps has helped tremendously. I mean, it's money that we didn't have before for food. Is it as much as we need per month for food. Definitely not. I mean, it does not last.
I might make a little more, so if I get a few extra hours 1 week or a few extra hours a month or something, my check goes up, and then we're up for renewal. So the food stamps, and there's an increase, which isn't consistent. The assistance gets cut back.
Put it back, please. Sawyer. Hey, hang on, look. I try to not bring the kids because there's always something that they want that we either can't afford or just can't do. Come on, Sawyer. Not today, bud. No. Come on, buddy. Sawyer. Come on. I know, not today. Maybe
before, if they wanted a toy or whatnot, we could, okay, go ahead. But now it's having to say no. We can't get that, put that back. It's heartbreaking.
We try to keep all this away from the kids so they can have as normal of a childhood as possible and not see that mommy and daddy are worrying. But it's hard to even think of the future or have hope. We're not any closer to getting back to where we were.
Yeah, I was calling about my water bill and trying to see if y'all could do anything with me and see if we could work some things out.
Struggle is our bills. We just not making enough money to do anything. I make $11 an hour almost, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, there's no, I feel like you can never get on top.
You reading the wrong meter, or you reading my neighbor's meter, or what's going on? It's right here, they want $954. They just keep, 29,500, gallons. That's too much, that's a bill, that's a business. Y'all said y'all had a guy come out, but I never seen the guy. He never knocked on my door, nothing to saying that he checked for a leak or anything.
I barely can afford my rent. I'm just surviving from check to check, and we make about $500 a week, maybe $600 sometimes. Depends how much they hit me on taxes. It's just not enough.
Sometimes we give up eating. If Anthony and I cannot afford groceries for ourselves, we make sure that Phoebe has food for the week.
That's my number one care is her, my one and only.
We got cut off for food stamps months and months back. They cut us off because they said that we make too much. Even though we don't make enough to even pay all of our bills off, I don't understand that. Sometimes we have to borrow money from my mom for gas and stuff to last us through the week. It gets really stressful. It causes a lot of problems in a relationship, My husband and I do work at the same restaurant. I work days, he works nights, so there's always gonna be somebody home to watch the baby. We don't see each other a lot. We don't spend a lot of time together. He has to bring the baby to work with him every day, and then we do the switch off. It gets tiring.
You gonna go for your daddy? Are you gonna go for your daddy today?
It's been killing us, and we don't have alone time or nothing. Me and Alyssa, we don't have nothing.
We're stuck with what we have. You're just stuck. It's gonna take a very long time to get into a more comfortable place.
Right now, we only get to see the kids once a week. I miss them a lot. I think about them every day. It's just all mixed up. It's just like an empty feeling. For me, it's like an empty feeling.
Once CPS took the kids from us, they gave us a number of services that we had to work. From parenting classes to therapy to counseling. We had to get a permanent place for them to stay stable. We got that for them. Now, keeping it is the problem. Losing this place is just like losing our kids. Because CPS finds out we got evicted because we couldn't pay rent. That's all they need to hear. Man, Like, let's deal with the fact that they might take our kids from us. The biggest thing right now is employment. Once we find that, I feel like everything else will fall in place. We'll go and put in applications, or sometimes we'll just go to the library and just get on, you know, different websites, Craigslist. $9 to $10 an hour.
Can't do that one either. Every day when I wake up, I just hope and pray that I find a job. If I don't, I know what the end result's gonna be, because sooner or later they're gonna be adopted, and we don't have that much longer. So it's like a big strain every day to wake up knowing that I don't have a job yet, and every day is passing, you know. We don't have any safety net. We're just trying to do everything by ourselves. We can't receive any benefits for welfare because we don't have the kids right now, unless we get a job working 20 hours a week. So right now we're just doing food pantries or asking someone if they can help us buy a little food for the week.
A lot of this is my fault. At that point in time, I was choosing alcohol and hanging with my friends over my family. I'm actually going to therapy and counseling right now, and I don't know, I'm still kind of skeptical, but I'm warming up to it a little bit, you know, so sometimes people just need to talk about problems. Just working right now to clean up those mistakes. I'm gonna do it, you know, I'm gonna do it.
The lowest point of my life would be after having my 5th child, still a single mom. I wasn't working, so I had to depend on family. I remember the times we done had the lights turned off, we've had the gas turned off. At that time, I was on Medicaid, food stamps. I was living in a low-income apartment complex. Moving into the low-income apartment cost me only $25 a month in rent, so that allowed me to take the extra money and be able to apply towards buying the kids clothes and adding more food into the household. It was a good thing, but it also was an embarrassment because it was an apartment complex that I really didn't want to live in, okay? But I knew that was my own alternative to do better for me and my kids. It took a lot for me to figure out how to get out of the situation that I was in. I was introduced to the Family Self-Sufficient Program. The FSS program was to help people become encouraged to be able to buy your own home, get a good job, get a good education, where you no longer needed any assistance. Well, I thought that was the opportunity of a lifetime.
What doctor's bills do we still have from?
Well, I called about this medical bill, and they said that there's nothing that they can do.
The first day that Ian was born, we thought that Ian's care would be covered by the insurance that Alexis was on. We found out immediately after he was born, I mean within hours, that that wasn't the case. You know, we had a social worker come in and tell us, hey, you need to look into Medicaid. He's gonna be disabled for the rest of his life. How are you gonna pay for that? $350 bill from Methodist, another $1,000. Medicaid's covered all of his care. I mean, without Medicaid, I don't know what we would have done. Like, you don't think this is costing $1.6 million. You think, I just want my son to be okay. Over the past month, he's done better. The doctors, they're thinking that he'll be released in the next few weeks. I started looking for a job. I applied at USAA. Within a week, I had a face-to-face interview. The next day, I was hired. It adds a whole nother set of issues. Worried about getting kicked off of Medicaid for making too much money. In Texas, you do have to be dirt poor. And I'll be starting off at about $33,000. We've been frantically looking for an apartment.
We're worried about qualifying for an apartment right now.
Qualifying for an apartment, qualifying for just healthcare in general.
Bye, Dada.
Kiddos. See you later. A quick update. I applied for the driver position a while back, and they gave me the call. It's a temporary, part-time position. It'll be kind of like a substitute driver kind of deal. My end goal is to get permanent, full-time driver position. The pace is amazingly quick. Quite a bit of pressure to perform. We gotta keep your numbers up to see they want to keep me around. There's a lot riding on this. It would mean support that I can offer for my family that we haven't really had. It would be amazingly stress relieving.
Once he can get to the full-time driver, I mean, that's the American dream. I mean, it's stable roof over our head, if not buying our own house, and enough to where I feel comfortable and safe.
I'm just gonna try my hardest, and hopefully that'll get me there. I don't even really want to think about not making it.
How's it going? How's Matt doing at work?
They're like telling him, you gotta step it up, you gotta step it up. And he's going fast. When he's not working, he's driving around the neighborhoods. He's studying maps when he's at home. He's not even watching TV, he's looking through a map book.
What's gonna happen, Sarah? If he doesn't make it through the trial period, does that mean he goes back to the regular position? I know, Sarah, I know. Well, you know what, Sarah? This is why you and I have been working on a different plan to getting you back out there, working, bringing in extra money, activating your resume again, because we knew that there was a possibility that the truck driving part wouldn't come out. Exactly. We're still in a good place. Yeah. We're still gonna push forward. Yeah. Yeah.
When I went to go visit my old supervisor, and she told me they were looking for an on-call nurse. I got the job offer, but they want me to start next week. With Cooper being more stable, we felt that it'd be okay and for me to try to get back to work. And now it's just working out the logistics of childcare and having one vehicle and all that fun stuff.
Why are you taking this class?
I'm taking this class because it will help me finish up my bachelor's degree in psychology, and then maybe think about going to do a master's degree. What you think? I think it'd be kind of fun. Might be a little. Working with the FSS program, I went to school, picked up a full-time job, but I still struggle, Sometimes cereal might have been a meal. Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice day. Just whatever I could think of to put food on the table. And I just kept pushing for the drive. So I had to keep working, keep getting the merit races.
Employee rank? See, what did we do?
Before I knew it, I got promoted into management, and everything just changed from there.
I need you to feel.
And I went and applied for my first house and got approved for it. I had a car, I had a place to stay, I was making money, I could pay my bills, I can put food on the table. I was an American.
This time right now has just been so eye-opening. Sometimes I think people that are making these decisions to cut programs,
if they could
if they could just at least look at the people that need these benefits. These programs are for people. They're for babies. They're for
families. Yeah.
They're for families. I think this would be enough space for Ian's equipment, his crib, his dialysis machine, his IV pole.
Believe me, I do want to go. I want to prosper. I want to make some good money, much as I can, It's just hard.
I got a cell phone I want to find.
Okay. You know how much you need?
A lot of people judge. A lot of people are quick to say, you can do better than this, and it's not always that easy.
This just shows that one thing can happen to a family and it can change everything completely.
4, 5.
It's not a choice we made, something that was beyond our control, and it just happened.
Today we went to court for them to determine whether they're gonna put our oldest child up for adoption or not. They decided to give us an extension to get everything situated.
We put our mind to it and keep doing what we're doing. anything's possible as long as you keep that faith and stay motivated.
Hopefully it's not too late, you know. I'm just gonna keep trying.
We pray every day for our son. We have a lot of hope that he's gonna live a happy life. What do you think?
I do. I do like it.
He may just be disabled. You know, we'll love him no matter what.
We have hope that it's not going to be like this forever.
Love to be in our own home with backyard for the kids and cars that function properly and have air conditioning and
have a home, just somewhere where we can take a breather, and be comfortable.
Take a deep breath.
Trying to make it with this one. Ain't that right? Tell them. Is it right?